Miguel stood backstage, his heart pounding like a drum, the noise of the audience echoing through the vast hall of the Quezon City arena. His hands trembled as he held the microphone, the cold metal a reminder that this moment could change everything. His shirt was faded, and his worn-out school shoes looked out of place under the bright stage lights, but his eyes carried a quiet determination. When his name was called, he took a deep breath and walked slowly to the center of the stage. The judges looked at him curiously, some smiling kindly, others with that sharp look of expectation. Host Bianca asked him where he was from, and Miguel, with a shaky voice, replied, "From Barangay Commonwealth, Quezon City." He added softly, "I'm here to sing for my mama and kuya, because they believe in me." The hall grew quiet, and the first guitar notes of Hotel California began to play. Miguel closed his eyes, and with the very first line, his voice broke through the silence. Soft, raw, and filled with pain. Each word carried the weight of his struggles, every note like a confession of the hardships his family endured. The audience leaned forward, captivated, and even the strict Judge Antonio softened, blinking away tears. By the time Miguel reached the chorus, the arena was completely silent, as if no one dared to breathe. His young voice carried maturity far beyond his years, each lyric touching hearts like a prayer. When the last note faded, Miguel opened his eyes to see the entire hall rising to their feet, clapping and cheering. Judge Maria was already crying, whispering to herself, "This is not just talent, this is destiny." Miguel's chest tightened, tears forming in his own eyes, realizing that, for the first time, he was being truly seen. As Miguel sang the final lines of Hotel California, the atmosphere inside the Quezon City arena shifted into something magical, almost sacred. His trembling voice, once shy and uncertain, had transformed into a powerful stream of emotion that wrapped itself around every soul in the room. The lights on stage seemed to glow warmer, reflecting off his tearful eyes as he poured the last of his heart into the song. When silence finally fell, it wasn't the awkward kind that comes after a performance, it was the kind born from awe, the kind that makes hearts hesitate before breaking into thunderous applause. A single clap echoed, followed by another, and then the entire hall erupted into a roaring ovation. People stood from their seats, cheering and shouting his name, while others wiped their eyes in disbelief. Judge Maria, unable to hold back her emotions, pressed her hands to her chest and let the tears roll down freely. "That was more than music," she whispered, her voice cracking with sincerity. Beside her, Judge Antonio, known for his strictness and sharp critiques, leaned forward, his usually stern expression softened by the glimmer of wetness in his eyes. He shook his head slightly, almost scolding himself for being moved, before saying, "Miguel, your voice carries truth, and truth cannot be taught." The moment became even more surreal when Judge Maria stood up, her hand trembling as she reached for the golden buzzer. The audience screamed, confetti burst into the air, and golden light rained down upon Miguel like a blessing. Stunned, he covered his mouth, his tears finally spilling as the weight of his struggles melted in that instant. From the side of the stage, Aling Rosa and Kuya Ben rushed forward, embracing him tightly. It was not just a victory for Miguel, but for his family, and for every dreamer in Quezon City who dared to hope. Miguel could hardly believe what was happening as golden confetti floated down from the rafters, shimmering under the bright stage lights. The sound of the crowd chanting his name filled the vast arena, yet in that moment, all he could feel was the warmth of his mother's arms around him. Aling Rosa clung to him tightly, tears streaming down her weathered face, her fruit seller's hands trembling as she whispered, "Anak, I told you your voice was a gift." Kuya Ben joined them, lifting Miguel slightly off the ground in a proud embrace, his jeepney driver's shirt still smelling faintly of gasoline and sweat, but his smile wide and unshakable. For Miguel, it felt as though all the years of sacrifice, his mother's long hours in the palanque, his brother's endless days driving through the crowded streets of Quezon City, had suddenly found their meaning on this stage. The judges stepped forward, visibly emotional. Judge Maria hugged him as if he were her own son, saying through her tears, "You reminded us tonight that music is not about perfection, but about heart." Even Judge Antonio, who was rarely generous with praise, placed a hand over his chest and admitted, "You sang as if every lyric belonged to your life, and that's why we all felt it." The camera zoomed in on Miguel's tear-streaked face as he stood in the middle of the stage, his family by his side, golden confetti falling like blessings from heaven. In that instant, the poor boy from Barangay Commonwealth was no longer invisible. He was a star, shining with the love of his family and the faith of everyone who believed in dreams. The arena echoed with cheers, but Miguel's eyes lifted quietly toward the lights above, whispering in his heart, "Papa, I hope you're proud of me too." The night air in Quezon City buzzed with excitement as news of Miguel's performance spread beyond the walls of the arena. Social media exploded with clips of his Hotel California rendition, people sharing it with captions like, "The boy who made the judges cry," and "A voice that carries the soul of the Philippines." Outside, in the small barangay market where Aling Rosa sold fruits each day, neighbors gathered around a small television at a sari-sari store to watch the replay. The familiar stalls, once filled only with the noise of bargaining and jeepneys passing by, now echoed with cheers as everyone proudly pointed at the screen, saying, "See Miguel, Yen. Anak ng Barangay Natin." Aling Rosa, standing shyly with a basket still in her hands, could not stop her tears as people hugged and congratulated her. Kuya Ben, his arms slung around his mother's shoulders, laughed with pride, his face beaming brighter than the neon lights of the market. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Miguel sat quietly in the backstage holding area, still clutching a single piece of golden confetti as if it were treasure. The noise of the world felt distant to him, his mind replaying the way the judges cried, the way the crowd stood, the way his family ran to his side. For a boy who once sang only to pass time while carrying crates of mangoes, this moment was almost too big to grasp. Yet, deep inside, Miguel felt a calm resolve beginning to take root. This wasn't the end of his journey, it was the beginning. He thought of the narrow streets of Commonwealth, of the struggles they faced every day, and he whispered to himself, "One day, Mama won't have to sell fruits, and Kuya won't have to drive all day. This is for us." The sun was just beginning to rise over Quezon City when Miguel walked through the familiar streets of Barangay Commonwealth, the echoes of last night still alive in his heart. The alleys that once seemed heavy with struggle now felt brighter, as if carrying a new kind of hope. Children ran toward him, shouting his name, their laughter filling the air, while neighbors came out of their homes, clapping and calling him a hero of their community. At the market, vendors who had known his mother for years gathered around Aling Rosa, hugging her and saying how proud they were to have seen Miguel on national television. She smiled through tears, holding her son's hand as if she would never let go. Kuya Ben proudly showed off to everyone that he was Miguel's brother, joking with jeepney passengers that they had a future superstar riding with them. Despite the cheers, Miguel remained humble, greeting everyone with a shy smile, his voice soft but filled with gratitude. Later that evening, Miguel stood on the rooftop of their small home, staring out at the glowing skyline of Quezon City. In the distance, the sound of tricycles and jeepneys blended with the faint music coming from radios tuned to shows still talking about his performance. He held the golden confetti he had kept in his pocket, turning it gently in his fingers, the memory of the judge's tears still vivid in his mind. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, reflecting his dreams back at him. With the cool breeze brushing his face, he whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning. One day, I'll sing on the biggest stages, and Mama and Kuya will never have to worry again." In that quiet rooftop moment, Miguel promised to carry the hopes of his family, his barangay, and everyone who believed in him.